Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second day of NAB live from Vegas. Thank you very much for joining us today. And today we are joined by our special friend, Tony Bari and Vlad Solovjov.
Yeah.
And Vlad is a talented creative director based in London, and Tony is a post-productions consultant based in LA. And today we have a very special sessions called the ProTalks with ProArt. And if you're looking at the screen, you're probably wondering why the part 2 there, because the part 2 is actually this whole sessions is a 3-part series, and the first part is already live a couple of weeks ago, and it is hosted in Maxon and ASUS YouTube channel. So if you're wondering how was the first session goes, how the first session went, and check out Maxon and ASUS YouTube channel. And the idea of this sessions is that our friends at ASUS just released this beautiful QD OLED reference monitor, which is very powerful HDR screen that you can use in post-productions. So instead of us telling you like what are the specs that you need to see in monitors, we bring this monitor and lend it to the professionals and see how these professionals use this monitor and what potentials they can achieve with these monitors. I bet you are all in the audience probably have had worked with laptop before, and you probably have had some color problem before. Accuracy is a thing in both productions, and color management is a big deal. And this QD OLED panel, the ASUS PA32UCDM, is kind of like checking all those checkboxes, because it is a reference monitor that has one cable solutions, Thunderbolt cable solutions that can ease up your workflow. And it is also color accurate because it is factory recalibrated, and it has a delta E of like smaller than 1. And if you're wondering what is a delta E and what is like the number smaller than 1, so the easy version to understand that is that delta E is a measurement value. If you take two different like color, one reference color and one color from the monitors, and if the test generate a result like 100, that means like totally the opposite color. But then if you have like a value of 2, it means like human eyes probably can still see the difference if you do the pixel peaking. But this monitor has a delta E smaller than 1. It means like it is almost imperceptible of human eye to human eye, the color difference. So that is a really nice reference monitor to do your post-production on. So without further ado, let me pass the microphone to Tony Bari to talk about the connections of the monitors.
And I slide in.
As my microphone fell out. So we're going to talk through a couple of things here. First of all, welcome back, NAB, right? Day 2. So before we even get into the monitor itself, and I have Vlad here to showcase how beautiful his work can look on this monitor here. We're going to just do a quick tech check, talking about cables, making sure that if you buy a brand new monitor, that you don't just pop the box open, grab the monitor, and throw it on there with all your old cables. I have been guilty of doing this. I know a lot of people that do this. It's just a bad habit. And know the cables that you use before you plug things up. It makes a huge difference. So if you want the full potential, if the cables are included within the box, use those cables because they're meant to meet the full potential of the product that you just bought. So with that said, this includes a Thunderbolt 4 cable and an HDMI cable, 2.1 Bravo spec. The reason that matters, if you try to do HDR, if you try to do high frame rate, all this good stuff, you need to make sure that you have the correct cables. Another thing I'd say besides that, with the laptop solution, if you have the wrong cable, some of your laptops draw a lot of power, and then you only have 100 watt. If you need more than 100 watt, they go up to 240 watt. So not just this right here will go up to 96. So not just sustaining, but actually full charge, like on a 16-inch MacBook Pro, or if you have any kind of PC equivalent, such as an ASUS. Outside of that, just remember, don't wrap your cables so tight. They're not meant to do that. They look great when you do that, when you chuck them in a bag, but the whole idea is that keep your cables nice and easy and kind of put them away correctly so you don't screw them up. Now, outside of that, let's just talk through some of the software settings, just to get you in the right spot. So if you're on the PC side, you want to go into your GPU. This one in particular is an NVIDIA. So inside of here, go to the panel, and then you'll see an option for 8-bit color. You want to switch that down to 10-bit color, just so you have things nice and crispy. Now, besides that, on the Mac side, everything is assumed 10-bit, unless you choose the lower resolution. But the options will be to choose your resolution, which will still be at 10-bit, unless you choose low resolution. And then to choose, if you're going to use this as your GUI monitor, if this is your only monitor, right, then that's when you would choose main display. Otherwise, if you're going to use it as your output monitor, make sure to check the box for extended display and scroll down. Sometimes if you don't have the menu all the way open, you'll miss the HDR button that's kind of tucked in all the way in the bottom, right where the refresh rate is. And just to remind you, this goes up to 240 hertz. So if you do like all the high-speed stuff, if you work with a lot of high frame rate art, or you shoot a lot of slow motion, this goes up to 240 hertz. So they're right there, one on top of the other. And let's just quickly talk about media in general, right? So whatever your deliverable is, if you want it to look pretty on this monitor right here, we want to really achieve that by keeping everything in 10-bit. So 10-bit really matters. Just because you make something in ProRes or in DNX, it doesn't mean that it's going to be 10-bit. You have to make sure that you put that in 10-bit. I tend to use H.265 because I can actually take a lot of heavy data and still keep it pristine in 10-bit and use it and pass it along. You know, I can send something to Vlad that's not 15 gigs, that's like maybe 500 megs, but it'll still be 10-bit. So just keeping that idea going. H.264 has that option, 8, 10-bit. Always go for the 10-bit if you really care what your image looks like on the screen. And from there, I'm going to hand it over to Vlad to show us what some of his beautiful 10-bit artwork looks like. Oh yeah, 32 bits per channel at the same time. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys. Can you hear me well? All right, good. So I'm going to jump back to my presentation. So my name is Vladislav Solovjov. I'm a creative director and artist based in London, UK. So with 15 years of experience in CGI, design, animation. So I've been doing it for quite a long time. I think I started doing this back in 2008, 2009. So it's been a long time. With the clients like Google, Apple, Audi, Lotus, Maxon, Adobe, Nike, L'Oreal, Lancome, NFL, I try to come up with some new solutions, creative solutions, with which I can elevate whatever I do or have ever done. So these are like my credentials. If you ever would like to have a close look at what I do, those are the links. So the first one is the website, as the second one is my Instagram. So be my guest. By the way, for those who have been using Cinema 4D for like long enough, at least for a few years, this is the splash screen you could see for a year. This is the one I designed for the version 2023. It just, just to give you a glimpse of what I usually do and how I collaborate with Maxon. So, and there is a very quick snippet in my portfolio, just a show reel to show you what I do and how I do it.
Okay.
great tea. All right, let's get back to the proper presentation. So I make CG for IT, science, beauty, fashion, sports, automotive, and film industries. And my favorite thing in what I do is textures, surfaces, and play of light. So in order to, visualize it properly, correctly, we need a monitor that could be useful enough to showcase all the beauty and depth in colors, the shadows, the highlights, the midtones, so you can see the whole spectrum of colors. What you can see now on the screen is the motion design edits of some creative experiments I have prepared for this particular presentation. So this one was based, this is 10 bits, ProRes 4444, full spectrum of colors, 15 gig. So you have the best fidelity in 4K, and this is now on this display. So I'm going to show you, while it's playing there, you can just enjoy the show. I'm going to also show some of the artwork on the main screen to introduce you to all the work and the spectrum of colors I try to use in my work. So I experiment with metal, with reflections, with crystals, with bubbles, of course, the ones I did for Cinema 4D23. We have reflections. This is perhaps my favorite bit because you can see the gradients and the full spectrum of colors in one single composition. And even more bubbles where you can see pretty much many different ideas I would come up with, maybe liquids, with metal, with particles, with some organic stuff, which is pretty useful to play with. And this is the animation which was designed for this event. Yeah. And I'll keep scrolling the pictures on the main screen as well so you can get the full idea. Some of these still frames you can see on the presentation on the right-hand side, for you on the left-hand side. Those were also rendered specifically for this edit as well. And the few pictures are in full screen. Yeah. It will just continue playing. Yeah. Yeah. In the meantime, I would like to show you just the compositions like this one, or this, where you can see the full spectrum of colors, the contrasts. This is what I really love to do in my work, where I can have a lot of flexibility with colors, with saturation, hue and saturation, contrast levels, gamma. All of that should be, translated in my work, reflects it in all the compositions I work with. And today I will also show you the real-time demo from Cinema 4D and After Effects, where I do compositing in 32-bit. It's not like a compositing, but more like the color grading to show you the full spectrum of colors I can tweak and play with. So this is the scene I'm going to show you. This is the one. And this one as well. Before we jump to Cinema 4D and After Effects, I will show you just the process, how it's usually done. So we have 30-bit EXR, then we import it in After Effects in order to play, with colors and color correction. And you can see we have 32 bits here and display P3. And this is how it looks. So let's go to After Effects and see what we have here. Oh yeah, it works well. All right, let's concentrate on the scene. So basically this is the setup I created for NAB. This is the scene. So this is the first one. And this is the second one. This is the scene. We have 32 bits in display P3, which is a color managed. And this is the still frame we got from the project I just showed you. I will just turn off all the settings I have here. So this is just the plain image. So it looks more like a log file. And what we can do here is to play with levels, because I would like to bring more contrast. So let's get back to the color grading. So this is the 4K image, 32-bit AXR. This is what I would do if I need, what I use, if I need to play with color grading without losing any, color data in translation. So here we can see the sliders of the levels, so we can bring all the back information from the shadows, especially in this region. All right, it's good. Now it's much brighter. So now we can also play around with curves. This is perhaps my most favorite color grading setup because it's quick and efficient. So what I would usually do, I would set 2 points, one in the shadow, one in the highlights. Good. Now we can slightly zoom into the areas with the midtones and the highlights, and set one more, and see how it changes. And now we can see even more contrast here. The next thing would be to play with the red colors, the red channel, the blue and green. So I want this scene, because initially it was a bit too cold. We want to be more warm in this scene by doing this. All right, looking good. How about if we control also the shadows in blues? I set 3 points here. Bring a bit more warmth here. And I want to have a bit more blue light highlights as well. Now we can slightly zoom out and can see how energetic and bright it looks. I will save this in because it's never late to press the Ctrl S or Command S, whatever device you work from. This is the first setup. We can practically select all of this, copy and paste to this one. Because this is the different camera angle from Cinema 4D, we have a bit more dark areas here. So I would love to do this by hand and select the areas which I would like to slightly elevate and make brighter. I use a lot of masks in After Effects. Because if you mess up something in Cinema 4D and you make some certain areas too dark, you can control it by hand and bring a bit more brightness to certain areas in your image, in your composition. So I'm going to hide all of this. And I'm going to select the certain area. So this one, the tail, can you see the cloth with this tail? I literally just select it like this. Good. Now we go to mask and add some feathering because it's too sharp. Let's say 300, that should be enough for the starter. Then we go to color correction, curves will do. Wonderful. And now we can bring the colors back in this area slightly, but we still retain the contrast in this area. So this is before, this is after, so it's slightly brighter. But I can see this area is slightly oversaturated in terms of the color. So I would like to bring a bit more shade. So take the main layer and make one more mask on top of the Cinema 4D render like this. Now we can slightly fake the shadow because not all the time you need to go back to the Cinema 4D re-render. This particular image took me, I don't know, maybe 5-6 minutes to re-render. When you're on the deadline, you need to make something pretty quickly. So what I'm gonna do, boom. However, we now can see that the midtones have the blue tone-ish. This is what we don't like. So now it's more balanced. However, it's a bit too sharp. So what we can do, we can get back to this area, go to the mask and add a bit more feathering. So this is what we have here. Beautiful. And there's another trick in After Effects, which I put on top of my renders. This is I've never showed this in life, but why not? So we're gonna get to the shapes. This is my lens flares. This is how I do the lens flares without lens flares. This is the most ridiculous way of adding a bit more color and shade. Imagine if you had like a volumetric light, but that would be literally filling the scene with lights like this. However, as you can see, because the scene was rendered with an alpha channel, we can see this very weird area here. What we need to do is go here, create a new solid. Like this. Now we can make it slightly darker, like that. And make this not that bright, because the area was a bit too dark in the left-hand side of the composition. So I wanted to slightly balance this out and have a bit more contrast here. So this is basically, we just literally fake lighting conditions in After Effects, but this is pretty useful for some pretty easy and fast tweaks. So this is what we had before, even without this setup. It looks a little bit bland, so we bring the colors and shade. And now we have some volumetric light in the scene. However, if I put it in this angle, you can see it doesn't actually emulate the position of the lights in the Cinema 4D. So because of the highlights I here on the top, I want to bring this back to this position. And this is what we have. Same thing can be done for the first setup as well. We can also bring some color in the first composition, like this, and we kind of emulate the lighting conditions. And just one more color correction layer on top, a little adjustment. Because of the new spotlights, volumetric lights, they actually mess up the shadows. So we want to bring to some shade in this area, like this, and bring the colors back. Yeah, looking good. And perhaps you remember that I have already, teased another setup. Which one was this? So the raw file looked like this, slightly oversaturated with blown out colors with too much exposure. What we want to do is to tone it down, retain the color. And you can see the histogram here of the colors. And what I would do, let's imagine we just delete this, all of this, leave the curves. And you remember I mentioned also the hue saturation, which is pretty useful for adjusting the colors. We can bring a bit more warmth. And there's another effect in After Effects which I love a lot. It's selective color. It's the most cheap trick, but you can never go wrong with that. So we're going to jump down to the neutrals. So these are the midtones, and you can bring the yellow color. You can reduce the magenta, but I want to keep it pink, cyan, to bring a bit more purple color, but still keeping this area in the middle bright enough. There. All right. I'm just checking that screen because it's not a reference screen, just to make sure that we don't make too many silly things. So what I'm going to do is to slightly tone down this area where we have most of the highlights. Just go like this. Slightly tone down. Get back to the mask and feather it like this. This one is a bit too pink, so we can tone down the blues, bring the shadows, and also the highlights. Make it slightly warmer. So we would have the blue area around it and the warm area inside in the very center, in the middle of composition. Looking good. And you can appreciate the colors like going from the very dark areas with those beautiful sparks. It's like the texture. Actually, in the Cinema 4D, speaking of the Cinema 4D, this material has two sub-materials. The first one is the main one with the glossy and subsurface scattering. And the second one is actually the car paint, which is pretty useful for making beautiful flakes in Cinema 4D. And then I just added the layer in which I could control the mix of materials. And this is how it's been done. Basically, two materials blended all together in one single image. So this is the snippet of how I do color grading in After Effects in 32 bits. Getting back to the scene, you can see it's 32 bit in colors. And we have display P3. So whenever you export this image, make sure you have the maximum resolution and also the color depth as well. So I would usually go, if I need to deliver the files for print, it would be TIFF in TIFF 32 bits or EXR. Usually the clients who do prints for like beauty brands, for fashion brands, anything you can see in store will be done in 32 bits in TIFF. This is how I usually deliver the files. And I do most of the compositing work in After Effects, not in Photoshop. This is, I know, it's pretty unheard of to do for making any like color grading tweaks for images in After Effects. But surprisingly, After Effects gives me more speed in variation in tweaking the color grading and adding all the different effects on top of the composition. So this is how it's done. Yeah. So I will show you the keynote again, just to get back to the examples of what you can achieve. You can have very saturated blue colors and cyan, turquoise, or you can have the fume billowing smoke simulations in Cinema 4D. This one actually was done in Cinema 4D 2024 when the pyro smoke just been released. So I played around with this. I decided to render this one in 32 bits. Same about this. This one also, maybe this one is Cinema 2023, but also it doesn't matter. This one was rendered in Cinema 4D 2025 because of the chromatic aberrations in glass are now processed on GPU render engine Redshift much quicker and more in a more efficient manner. So it looks good. And all of that you can see actually on the screen on this monitor have been made on a laptop. So before going to Mac, I used ASUS ZenBook Pro Duo with one RTX 3070 mobile. And all of the work you can see in my show reel actually was managed on a single laptop. This proves one single fact for me, that you can be a freelancer, you can work remotely, and you can manage all your work from the laptop and work with major brands from laptop. Because before going to laptop systems in 2018, I used the full tower machine back home. So for me, it was quite a big shift to switch to the new way of working. So yeah, the laptop, the monitor, and beautiful work, all of that just comes together beautifully in a nicely manner. There is one little thing I also wanted to show you how I do glow effects. Okay. To be fair, I'm one of those users in After Effects and Cinema 4D who tries to use the standard tools to the maximum, potential capacity. If I can do it with no plugins, just, like stock. This is what I try to do and achieve. So I'll show you one very cool thing. So we can duplicate this. We go back to all the settings. I just isolate this layer like this. I will show you how to make a very cool, like glowing effects in After Effects, which could be later tweaked with some, minor color grading. So we go to the curves, I literally just kill all the dark areas. We go back to the color correction, drop some tints on top, and we literally just isolate the midtones and the levels. We can even go crazy because with 32 bits you can slightly, play a bit more with colors than you used to, than you have to. So now we turn this on, and we can just combine it with the screen mode. Well, all right, this is good. And I'll show you we can slightly desaturate this yeah, let's say 15%, and make this go back to the curves, go to RGB. Because I would like to elevate the layer I just put on top. So slightly go down like this. Nice. I would take this layer, duplicate it, and go here and just drop the blur on top. This is how we can make halation-like effects with some simple color gradient tweaking in After Effects. And you can see, I just zoom in like this. Just done in post. So another thing I would like to do is to slightly adjust the color because it's just plain white color. So we go here, bring a bit more warmth and joy in these areas, a bit love. Like this. And we take this layer one more time, just duplicate it. I'll just going to hide it all together. Like this. And come here and increase the blur. To make this, you remember the game, what was it? The Most Wanted? Yeah, Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005, that crazy bloom. This is what we can do with such simple tweaking. And here, because I just deleted the spotlights, we can bring a bit more color in shades back again. Like this. And I can see these areas are now slightly overexposed, so we want to tone them down a little bit. And we just simply go to transparency, drop down to 75. Good, so we now have this nice and warm glow effects happening in these areas of composition. Right here, in midtones, in highlights. And we just save the project. We can do the same, we just copy and paste this because we know this looks beautiful. We can go back to this composition, just copy and paste, and literally just replace the same setup like this. And you can see now we have this golden-ish effects applied on top of this very detailed mesh. Yeah, by the way, this screen still runs, yeah? Perfect. And this is what we have in After Effects, and we've just done some simple color gradient in matter of seconds. So this is what we had. Slightly overexposed with high gamma. We brought some colors in and applies all the effects and dropped it on top. And this is how I usually do it. So this is something I can do for like client work, for my personal projects, which I put online on Instagram, LinkedIn, on anywhere. So it's not actually, I've never seen anybody doing this way. So usually people do it with plugins. I try to keep as much control as possible because when the effect is applied on top, it's kind of, you know, with it lays on top with overlay and it applies everywhere. So what I would like to do is to have more control with masks. So I do a lot of masks work in After Effects. Yeah, so how much time do we have left?
Like 9 minutes.
3 minutes? I think in the meantime I can maybe just answer the questions about maybe the device itself, because we've been talking about this. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Vlad.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me.
That was a really, how do you call it? I never thought to work in After Effects that way using the shade layer. And you're practically color grading inside After Effects. That's a really nice tip.
Yeah, it's not DaVinci, not that fancy stuff. We just go like raw, like in After Effects.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. If there are still any questions from the audience, we can take some questions.
Yeah, and by the way, thanks for joining us today. Those are my credentials.
Be on site.
Yeah, I will also be at the demo station for half an hour. I'll be doing some beautiful work in Cinema 4D in live. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop by and ask the questions. And I will try to make something beautiful in Cinema 4D as well. So you'll have the full spectrum, all inclusive, not just, After Effects.
All right, so with that being said, thank you very much for your attention. Give it up for Vlad. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.